Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Charlotte Cottrell of Christian Mom Life, and today I'm going to be talking about 8 tips to make your grilled cheese and tomato soup 10 times more delicious, as well as going over making it in a basic way. If you already know how to make grilled cheese and you feel like you're a pro and you're just here for the tips, you can go ahead and skip to the end. There should be a timestamp in the description that will just list the tips out for you. But if this is something that you aren't very familiar with making them together, then I also go through the basics on how to make grilled cheese and tomato soup. Let's get into the video. Okay, so I have 2 disclaimers before starting this video. No, 3. Number 1, this is we just moved in, we haven't unpacked everything central. So it's bad. We're just gonna pretend it's not there. Second, because we haven't unpacked everything, we don't have a lot of dishes. So I'm gonna miss several key things. I'm gonna show you substitutes that you can use. So number 1, instead of a butter knife, we just have, a paring knife. That's fine. So once you have a knife of some description, actually, you know what? I have plastic butter knives. Let's do that. So take your bread, take your knife, take your butter, and then you are very simply going to spread a thin, but not too you're going to spread a thin spread of butter all over your bread. Some people don't really care about getting it all the way to the edges and the corners. To me, that is something that's going to make every single bite super delicious. So I always make sure to really get all the edges and corners perfectly and make sure it's an even layer. So it should look like this. You can't tell, but there's butter on there. And then you're going to flip that over, and you're going to put butter on the other side. Ooh, putting butter on bread. Influencing. Oh yeah, doing this one-handed is super easy. Just okay. That's enough action shots. That's enough. It's fine. It's enough action shots. This looks terrible. I'll show you here. Here is the buttering motion, and then we'll magically cut to when it's finished. Ooh. There we go. You're gonna want to go ahead and turn your heat up. Though I am doing a tutorial on how to make these, never know what temperature to start it at. So I always start it at like medium or like sort of medium low and see where that gets me. After the first piece of bread hits, it should sort of sizzle but not like burn. So just depending on your stove, you'll get a feel for it after the first sandwich that you put on there. Now, one of the main ways that you can fancy up a grilled cheese, which I am going to go ahead and tell you, even though I'm not doing it, is to use a fancier bread. Use like a gorgeous sourdough or even a slice of Italian or French bread, and I'm sure that that would be delicious. My husband and I just prefer the ease and cheapness of, a plain loaf of white bread, or I suppose, you could do a whole grain or a honey wheat, whatever you wanted to do. Maybe not a cinnamon swirl, that might be weird. Okay. So as you can see, my butter's gone a little bit melty. I probably should have gone for 5 seconds at that point, but go big or go home. But it's gonna be, nice and soft to soak into my bread. Now, I have my stack of buttered bread. You're gonna wanna have your cheese handy. And also just a little bit of your Italian seasoning. So, let's see if I can have your cheese open and ready, because I like to put that puppy on there as soon as possible. If your fingers are buttery, it might be hard to get it open, and then you're left there looking like a fool as you flail with your cheese package and your butter crumbs. I mean, what? That'd be horrible. Okay, so I have here my Munster cheese, which again, so that's my second tip. Go for a fancier cheese or even a combination of cheeses. My favorite personally is like a Colby Jack, maybe even a pepper jack if you want a little bit of just a little bit of in your food. So my husband really wanted Munster. I've never had it on a grilled cheese before, but I'm assuming it's gonna be delicious because that's what he says. So go for your fancy cheeses. All right, so you put your bread down, then you put your slice of cheese down, then and you put your other piece of bread on top, forming your sandwich. You're gonna let it cook for a little while, anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes, I suppose. I don't know, there's a range. This is what I'm using to flip them today because I don't have a spatula yet at the house, but I do have this scraper, so I'm just gonna scrape them up and flip them over. So obviously, by the way, clean hands. You're gonna take your bread, gonna take a slice of cheese, you're gonna take the other piece of bread, put it on top. Now for the fun part, you're gonna take your Italian seasoning. It's gonna be a little buttery after this. You're gonna just sprinkle just a little bit on top. And that is gonna make your sandwich better. One of the ways that you can tell it's, time to flip is, lift this up and see how melty your cheese is getting, which is pretty melty. You want the cheese to be pretty melted together before you end up flipping it. So there's you a little tidbit of knowledge. It's starting to get pretty melty on there, so I'll probably flip it in just a few seconds. All right, so I just flipped that one, and to me that is a perfect looking grilled cheese as far as the doneness. So again, what I did was I sort of just poked at the edges, not with my finger, with this, or your spatula, but in my case a scraper. And you can feel the crispness sort of forming on the bottom of the crust. The cheese will start to get melty, etc. So I would guess that that was about a minute. Yeah, I think it may be time to flip this one. So it's not gonna look pretty because, I'm using a scraper. Oh, beautiful. So yeah, I would say a minute. And meanwhile, I suppose you should get the soup started right about now. All right, so once your grilled cheeses have started cooking, although I suppose you could get it started before then, you're gonna open up your can, and you'll see that the instructions on the back of the tomato soup is to mix it with either 1 cup milk or a cup of water. I can definitely recommend using milk. It's gonna be a lot more rich. And just be, I don't like to waste any. Just be careful that while you are making the soup, you don't let your grilled cheeses burn. And I pour about half of the can in, and then I sort of swirl it to try and get the rest of the tomatoey stuff as possible. Now's the point where a whisk would really come in handy. I don't have one. I have a fork. So use a fork, that's totally fine. And go ahead, and I generally pop mine on high because of course I'm making it after I've started working on my grilled cheese, so I want it to heat up pretty quickly. And I think the instructions say bring it up on medium and let it warm up and yada yada. But who cares? That's why we're watching a YouTube video, because we don't just follow the instructions, we do what we want. So as it's heating up, nothing special to it yet. Later on, once it gets pretty close to being done, we're gonna throw in some Italian seasoning. The reason that I wait and don't throw it in the beginning, even though probably the flavor would, get better, I've noticed that sometimes the actual little flaky flakes can burn, and I don't want my flaky flakes burning, so. By the way, when it comes to the grilled cheese, another thing that you can do if you don't have fancy cheese, or maybe you're trying to keep it super cheap, so you're working with those Kraft singles, totally with you, 100% feel you. Just use 2 slices of cheese. Make it the ultra cheese fest. That will make it delicious as well. So that's another tip. All right, so you have your Italian seasoning. Be nice and generous. Then you have some garlic powder, maybe a little less generous. And then stir. Pretty simple. And in just a minute, you should have delicious tomato soup and grilled cheese ready, and I'll show you when it's all together. Alright, my last and final tip is plating. Now, obviously, if you're in a rush, which we're talking about a quick meal here, then you may not have time to do this. But if you do have time, it will really make your food actually taste better, which is putting it in something beautiful. And you don't always have to spend a ton of money to do this. This white plate is from the Dollar Tree, so it was $1. This white bowl is the matching set, also from the Dollar Tree, and these were from IKEA. And ultimately, you know, it's not the most gorgeous plating set ever, but cutting the grilled cheese into triangles and sort of stacking them and having a matching set and bowl can just really make a meal more special. So, anyway, I guess our total tips were fancy bread, slightly more melty cheese, fancy cheese or double the cheese, butter on both sides of the bread, and adding Italian seasoning to everything, and garlic powder as well in the soup. What do you think, baby?
It's delicious.
Is it good?
Very good.
You like it?
Very much so.
Scale of 1 to 10.
10.
10? Well, he may be a little biased, but... Alright, well, that's the end of the video. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope these tips are useful to you. Comment down below if you already did those things or if you learned something new. And feel free to subscribe if you like content that has to do with cooking, cleaning, household, family, and faith. That's the kind of stuff that I do over on my channel. And if you subscribe, feel free to leave a comment and I'll make sure to reply and thank you personally. I'm hoping to reach 200 subscribers by the end of February. If there are any tips that you would like to spruce up basic recipes or any fancier recipes that you would like to see, feel free to leave those ideas down in the comments and I definitely will try and implement those in future videos. I post every Saturday and sometimes multiple times a week, just depending on my mood and how things go, because that's how mom life is. Anyways, again, thank you so much for watching, and if you decide to make any of these grilled cheeses, please feel free to, if you have an Instagram, post on Instagram and tag me at Charlotte Cottrell. That will be in the description below as well, and I would love to see that and be able to comment and say, good job, looks delicious. So, I hope you guys have a great day.